I'd like to welcome you to the Keystone Symposium, Diversity in Life Science Programs, Professional Development Activity, in which today we're going to talk about the creation of an article that was commissioned by Nature Reviews in Immunology on workforce diversity, looking specifically at what is the status of underrepresented scientists in that field. So today I have with me two preeminent underrepresented scientists in the fields of immunology and microbiology, and I'd like to introduce them now. To my left I have Dr. Cherie Butts, and to my right I have Dr. Avery August. The reason for this podcast is to bring together the three authors who worked collaboratively together on an article that was commissioned by Nature Reviews in Immunology regarding the status of underrepresented scientists in the field of immunology. So I would just like to ask my two co-authors how they felt about the writing experience and also about the status of underrepresented scientists in their field. So Dr. Butts, to begin with you, the writing process itself, could you give us just a little bit of what you thought went into that and what you got from that and from that experience, and what you think our listeners should know about the field of immunology and the status of underrepresented scientists in that field?
I would have to say that thinking about where to take this, we could have gone in many different directions, and so I wanted to make sure that our messages were clear and not all over the place. And so there were a lot of aspects that I wanted to bring, especially the fact that what we consider a scientific success is pretty narrow right now. So I was trying to get that in there as well. And then talk about the key points for me was making sure that we think about not diversity in terms of bringing people to the table who are visibly different, but more of the perspectives that they bring.
Very good. And Dr. August, in your opinion, in terms of what you discovered and uncovered as part of the research that went into the article?
So I was really honored to be included in this efforts, and it actually dovetailed very nicely with some of the things that we were doing with some colleagues at the ASM, American Society for Microbiology. We were really thinking about flipping the question about why are there so few underrepresented minorities in science, in particular in immunology, but flipping on the other side and asking for those who are, what makes them successful? And so we had just finished a survey looking at what are the parameters that people who were successful, such as Dr. Butts and others, in immunology, what did they share? And so I was very excited that this came just at the right time as we were analyzing that data, and it allowed us to sort of start to synthesize some of that material and put it into the commission review.
Okay. And so what were some of the aspects of the research that you did for the article that aligned with what you were already working on?
So of course we did this survey of underrepresented minorities in science, and what we found was that there were some interesting commonalities that were shared by almost all of the scientists, and some of those were persistence, some of those were the mentoring that they received, the importance of family, and these were all things that we thought were very interesting that we generally think about, but it was interesting that it was shared by so many people. And so it was really nice to be able to think about that information and integrate it with our thoughts on women being underrepresented in immunology as well as other underrepresented groups, and be positive that we do have some advances. Obviously we need to do a lot more, but it was really, really nice to be able to see that.
Okay.
And I think another aspect that we included, which was important, is a lot of the efforts that are currently ongoing focus on the earlier stages of the pipeline. And what we talked about was the fact that there are programs that really focus on all the way through your career, which is key because we don't just need mentoring at the beginning, we need it, and we need different kinds of mentoring, different kinds of sponsorship, different kinds of guidance, and it's critical that we consider and make sure that that's a key piece that people take into consideration as a scientist is going through her or his career.
So what programs specifically do you think have been most helpful in that regard?
Well, for me this year, I participated in a new program created by the partnership called the Biodiversity Leaders Program.
And what is the partnership?
The partnership is a New England-based organization, and their focus is on developing multicultural leaders. And it's unique. It's typically been pretty much all areas. So finance, there's a lot of programs that have had participation of individuals in finance, in law, in some sciences, but it was never focused as this program was. But it was really getting us to think beyond our science and really where's our impact going to be. And so that's been a key piece of repurposing our own efforts to make sure that they're more deliberate.
Okay. So what about AAI, the American Association of Immunologists? Do they have specific training programs for advanced trainees?
I would say it's more of networking opportunities. So you can learn from other colleagues and you can consider other career opportunities. What the AAI does have are several activities at the annual meeting and that are sponsored by the MAC. And that includes the careers networking and the roundtable session. What originally the idea for that roundtable session was for more of the undergrads, graduate students, maybe postdocs, but it's evolved. Now we have participation of individuals of all levels, and a lot of people are coming to ask, you know what, I want to look at other career options. Where can I take my degree? So I think that's very important. The opportunity to know that your science doesn't have to just be in academia. There are things that you can do in government that are very satisfying, things you can do in industry. We also have our Vanguard lecture, and Avery's actually a previous recipient. And that's key because it's highlighting the success of our scientists, as he was mentioning. And so it's important not just to talk about different career options, not just to maybe give guidance on how to publish, how to get a grant, but also to showcase our stars. And so that's a key piece of the event we have. We also have informal events at the meeting, but I think those two powerhouse events are really important for very different reasons.
Okay. So you are an academic and you're at a major research university. So what kinds of programs does your department offer to underrepresented trainees that are interested in immunology and microbiology?
So I'll start with one of the things that I really enjoyed about this collaborative effort, and that is the bringing together of the broad range of things that we are able to tap into to be able to get our trainees and mid-career senior scientists support. So we start with things such as the annual biomedical research for minority students, ABRCAMS, which really targets undergraduate students and postdocs to get them interested in going into fields like immunology. And then we have training programs, some of them supported by the NIH, Howard Hughes, that will support underrepresented students who are training and support and nurture their success. And then we have the more advanced programs for postdocs, junior faculty, the NRMN, the National Research Mentoring Network, that provides grant writing, coaching, and mentoring for beginning and mid-level and senior scientists. And we also need to talk about, as Cherie said, the importance of looking at what did success mean in a scientific career.
Yes.
So I'm an academic, but I also recognize that one can be successful as a scientist in many spheres of our society.
Including the C-suite.
Including
Especially
the C-suite.
Yes.
Matter of fact, we have a program that's funded by the NIH called the BEST program, which is Broadening Experiences in Scientific Training, which we mentioned in this article, which really provides students, and I think it's a really great idea, the opportunity to see what it's like to look at what another career is outside of academia, so that they can really realistically look at those choices, because those choices are probably more likely, and one can be very successful and have a very successful and satisfying career. And so I think as we think about these careers more broadly, we'll look at success differently, and I think we'll see that will work for a lot of our trainees.
Yeah, and not to brag, but I think Keystone Symmetry, the Fellows Program, has integrated very nicely postdocs and assistant professors and research scientists in a way that is very inclusive.
That's
So you don't feel isolated or siloed if you're not in industry or if you're not in academia. It really is a community.
And the other key piece about Keystone Symposia as an organization is that it does bring together academics, government scientists, and also industry scientists, and that's been the focus of it. And so when you incorporate the Keystone Fellows into that, they are being exposed, because many of them are in academic settings, but they're being exposed to where science is being conducted in
That's
other
right.
places. And so the mentors that you have, the senior scientists that are mentoring them, can provide information about what it's like outside of the academic setting. So I think that's really a key piece of why that program is so essential.
Well, and as an alum, I think that you're in a very good place to talk about the Fellows Program.
Yes.
And I think that one of the things that I've been feeling particularly good about, coming from an academic background and also in a prior position running the Fellows Program for the Biotechnology Institute, is looking at how industry and academia are now working together more closely than ever before. And I think that's very important, especially when you're talking about scientific discoveries and you're talking about workforce development. So, and I think on that note, we'll wrap up our conversation with just a quick summary of what you think were the most important, or the one most important element of the article that you want to tell our listeners. And you also, Dr. August, give us the one thing that you want to leave people with, that you think that this article will give them as they think about a career in immunology.
I think for me, the key is that we need more than one perspective, and so having individuals who had different experiences, different perspectives, bringing them all to the table, the decision making should be more comprehensive, and I think that's a key piece that I hope individuals gain from this piece.
And the one thing I would say is that we need to be able to think about supporting across all levels of our careers, not just in training students, but also within our careers and as we move through our careers.
Very good. Okay, so thank you again for joining us for another segment of Keystone Symposia's Diversity in Life Science Programs Professional Development Activities. Thank you.